the UAE and Saudi have constantly bailed Pakistan out of its financial crisis. And I think they are, not just that, I think it's well known that they've made it very plain in the past that Pakistan should get its act together, that it needs to rethink many of the principles by which it has spent these last 75 years.
Days after Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif called for serious and sincere talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on burning issues like Kashmir, India has responded. The Ministry of External Affairs official spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said India always wanted normal neighbourly ties with Pakistan. The spokesperson added that there should be an atmosphere free from terror and violence for such a relationship. On January 17th, Pakistan PM Sharif said that his country has learned its lessons and wants to live peacefully with India. In light of recent developments, Nirupama Subramanian National Editor of the Indian Express explains why Pakistan PM Shehbaz Sharif called for serious and sincere talks with PM Modi and how India responded.
What he said was in an interview, basically, saying that Pakistan had fought 3 wars with India and that it had got nothing in return except misery, poverty, unemployment, and that Pakistan has learned its lessons. So those were very, no one has articulated that in such, in this way or in such strong words. So this was the new thing because the Sharif brothers, both Shehbaz and his brother Nawaz, who is actually the leader of the Pakistan Muslim League, and that is named after him, Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, have always said that, they believe that they need to normalize, that Pakistan needs to normalize ties with India, and that this is the way forward for prosperity and peace in the region. I mean, they have said it quite consistently. Nawaz is a great votary of peace between the two countries. But this time, I think Shehbaz Sharif saying it to an Arab newspaper, to an Arab news channel, has some added significance because at this time there is also huge economic crisis building up in Pakistan. There's a balance of payments crisis. There's a forex crisis. There's an inflation issue. There's wheat prices are skyrocketing. So it's almost we have seen it in the subcontinent, in South Asia before, just last year in Sri Lanka. So this almost seems to be a near rerun of what happened in Sri Lanka. Of course, it may not come to that because Pakistan has obtained some funding from the IMF, and it has also obtained some funding from the UAE and some deferred payments from Saudi and rollover credit from the UAE. So it may not come to exactly that kind of situation as obtained in Sri Lanka last year, and it's still, and that country is still going through that. I mean, they're trying to resolve it. But here the situation is quite bad. I mean, Pakistan has not been in such deep economic straits, dire economic straits before this. So so it was in this context that he made these remarks that if we normalize ties with India, it's going to be a win-win for both countries. We spend so much on defense, we spend so much on guarding our borders, and we can spend all that more usefully in shoring up our economy. So this is what he said. But he also was in that interview. He said he made a very strong point, saying, but we have to resolve our burning issues first. And among the burning issues that he mentioned was Kashmir. And he said how there were human rights violations in Kashmir, and how India had changed the status of Kashmir. These were the two things that he mentioned when he said burning issues. The clarification came very quickly, and it stressed the point that Sharif had already made, but perhaps not made very strongly. The Prime Minister's office put out the clarification that there can be no negotiations with India until the illegal, I'm quoting that statement, until the illegal actions by India in Jammu and Kashmir in August 2019 were reversed. So basically that meant that restoration of special status, which was, the whole issue about Article 370. So basically they were demanding that the reading down of 370 that India did at that time was not acceptable to them, and that they should and that India should go back to status quo ante, or the status quo as it prevailed on August 4th, 2019. So this is what they said. The Indian response basically has been predictable, saying that look, we don't know really what he said, because he said in the interview that he's ready to talk with. He's ready to talk, and then of course the Prime Minister's office has put out further clarification. So I think the spokesman rightly said that, I mean, there's some confusion about what what Sharif actually meant and what the details are. He did not specify. Basically, I think the spirit of the spokesman's statements were that, we have to wait for more clarity from the Pakistani side. So no, General Asim Munir, who's the new army chief, has not said anything about Sharif's offer to Modi that let's sit down and talk about the burning issues that affect our countries and normalize relations. He hasn't said anything, and nobody in the army has made any comment so far. But we do know that the earlier army chief, that is General Munir's predecessor, General Qamar Javed Bajwa, was a votary of trade ties between India and Pakistan. He wanted to normalize relations. He made that very plain in a landmark speech he made in 2021, saying that Pakistan must move from geostrategic thinking to geoeconomic thinking, and that this was the only way to actually repair the country's economy. And he had said that Pakistan should turn its unique geography, meaning it sees itself as the crossroads of Asia and the West and Central Asia. So there was that feeling, and then the speech came after India and Pakistan armies had recommitted themselves to a ceasefire, which that pact is holding good even to date. There have been no incidents on the LOC since then, and the the next thing after the speech was an offer from Pakistan that we are ready to restart trade ties, restricted in 2 items only, across Wagah border, in sugar and onions. Sugar was in short supply. Sugar and cotton. The cotton crop had failed in Pakistan, and the prices were very high. And the sugar also, the prices were very high. So they thought that, importing these 2 things from India would offset the high prices of those 2 commodities there. And they were all set to do it. But under the Imran Khan was the Prime Minister at that time. And at the last minute, they pulled out of that agreement, and they said, there was a stormy cabinet meeting in which some cabinet members of the Imran Khan government said, no, we can't just do this. We can't talk to India without them rolling back the whole Kashmir, the changes they have made in Kashmir. So Imran Khan came out and said that there can be no trade ties, there can be no normalization without that happening. So I think India wants to really understand whether all the stakeholders are on the same page. Last time it was the army that was pushing for for normalization. This time, and the civilian leadership kind of weighed the political costs of this and withdrew. And this time it's the civilian leadership, political leadership, that wants talks with India, and we don't know what the army wants. So I think India wants a little more clarity on this. Pakistan is in dire economic straits, as I mentioned earlier. It's almost a rerun of what happened in Sri Lanka. Low foreign exchange reserves, balance of payment crisis, high prices, wheat prices. Wheat is a staple crop in Pakistan. It's a staple diet of most Pakistanis, and the prices are shooting through the roof. Chicken, which is also eaten widely, even that is very expensive. So food prices are really high right now, and not just the food. There are other crises. There's a political crisis, which is that the whole the rivalry between Imran Khan and Shehbaz Sharif. So Imran Khan pushing for an election, for that we need to have an election, and that Shehbaz Sharif is ruling illegally after having removed him from office. There's that that thing also playing on the government. Plus, there is a huge in the northwest region. There is the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, a terrorist group that is set up by all accounts a parallel government. They are taxing people, they are extorting, they're kidnapping, they're carrying out attacks. In the rest of Pakistan as well, we saw an attack in Islamabad after a very long time in December. So there are multiple crises that Pakistan is finding itself in, and also relations with Afghanistan, the Afghan Taliban, are not very good as Pakistan had imagined they would be. I think it comes in the middle of all this, Sharif's offer of talks. Also, the UAE and Saudi have constantly bailed Pakistan out of its financial crisis. And I think they are, not just that, I think it's well known that they made it very plain in the past that Pakistan should get its act together, that it needs to rethink many of the principles by which it has spent these last 75 years. And UAE is also claimed a role for itself in the India-Pakistan back channel process. And my guess is that when Shehbaz Sharif went to the UAE this time, he heard some harsh truths from the UAE leadership, like Imran Khan before him had heard. And very significantly, Shehbaz Sharif's visit was preceded by a visit by the Army Chief, General Asim Munir, who also visited Saudi Arabia. And you also have to see how the geopolitics of West Asia has changed. UAE now has made up with, has opened diplomatic ties with Israel. UAE and India have an excellent relationship. India and Saudi Arabia have an excellent relationship. And these are countries that Pakistan describes as Biradar Mulk, meaning brother nations. But my feeling is that the brother nations are tiring of, Pakistan's habit of turning up at regular intervals and saying, please bail us out. And I think Shehbaz Sharif realizes that as well. And at another forum in Pakistan, I think he was he was addressing members of the Pakistan Administrative Service, where he says, how can you be a nuclear country and go with a begging bowl to other countries for money to live? So I think it's a question that is really staring at Pakistan right now.